This is now part 3 in my video dealing with the early failures of the Seventh-day Adventist pioneers and the chronology of events that took place with them between 1844 and 1851. You need to go back and look at the other two to catch yourself up if you haven't seen them. Let me ask you a question. Would members of the Seventh-day Adventist still hold to the writings of Ellen White as inspired and infallible if they had been told the truth from the beginning, that her writings had been changed, some places her writings had been deleted, and that she taught things then, back in 1844 to 1851, that they try to cover up now and say she never taught? Is it morally right for facts that refute the teachings of Ellen White to be withheld, even if those facts are unpleasant to be heard? Such is the case with the shut-door policy held by the early pioneers of the Seventh-day Adventist, Ellen White, James Bate, James White, and so forth. The shut-door policy held by them between 1844 and 1851. And basically what this is saying is that in 1844, on October 22nd of 1844, the door of mercy was shut, or the door of salvation was shut, and that no one was going to be saved. I'll explain in another video why 1844 to 1851. But during that 7-year period, the teachings of the early pioneers, Ellen White and others, was that no one was going to be saved. But lo and behold, then after 1851, the shut-door policy is shoved under the rug and treated as though it never happened. Members are not told that their prophetess was wrong, and she even called it as being a vision from God, and that she was wrong there as well. If the truth were known, to tell the truth about this would rob Ellen White of her status as an infallible interpreter of the Bible, and she becomes nothing more than another Protestant with so many different interpretations of the Scripture, wrong interpretations at that. But the fact is that the early pioneers, Ellen White, James Bate, James White, and so forth, the early pioneers did hold that the door to salvation had been shut in 1844. And that's why they call it the shut-door policy. The leaders today try to dismiss that and explain it away and even delete articles from her writings as though it never happened. Even with evidence in her writing that showed that she did teach that, they still try to explain it away, and they twist the scriptures and they twist the wording as though she never taught this at all, when in fact one of their own members, who has written an article in 1844 Re-Examined, admits in there that Ellen White did hold a shut-door policy. He admits in that same articles of 1844 Re-Examined how they have deleted and changed the wording of Ellen White as though she never really said this. I mentioned earlier how her own writings give her away on this. You can read where she talked about the shut-door policy in the Great Controversy on page 428 and 429, how she taught in there that the door to mercy or the door to salvation had been shut. James White further supported the belief of the shut-door policy in the Present Truth magazine dated December of 1849. So did a man by the name of Hale, who was an Adventist, in the Review and Herald on September 16, 1851, when he said in there, and I quote, we suppose, the shutting of the door to denote, or what is it to mean? Some of our brethren talk as if there were a literal door to be closed, for they say, if the door is shut, there is no passing in or out. It is singular indeed, if we have become so very literal that we cannot see anything beyond an admitted figure but the figure itself. By this act, it is undoubtedly denotes the exclusion from all further access to saving mercy, end quote. Again, that is a man by the name of Hale in Review and Herald on September 16th of 1851. And there's other articles in the Review and Herald and in the early writings of Ellen White to show where they taught the shut-door policy between 1844 and 1851. But the thing is, to me, is why do the leaders want to deceive their members and say she never taught this and try to cover it up and twist their way around it as though she never taught it? The answer to that is very simple. When Ellen White is shown to be wrong, in her writings, and she's already been shown many times, they just won't admit it. But if she's ever shown to be wrong, then she ceases to be the infallible interpreter of the Bible, and she becomes the false prophetess that many people know that she is. So now they must protect her writings, even if it means lying to the present members, in order to preserve her authority, where she can hold that authority over the Seventh-day Adventist members, even to the point of frightening the members with them by saying, if you don't obey Ellen White, you're disobeying God. Or if you don't worship with us on Saturday, you're going to receive the mark of the beast. They do everything but tell about Jesus and scare people into staying active in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But the fact is that between 1844 and 1851, Ellen White taught that no one could be saved, the shut door policy, backed up by the other articles that I showed you from Hale and James White himself, and others within the Seventh-day Adventist organization as well, know that she taught that shut door policy. But then after 1851, it began to slowly disappear, and they began twisting Scripture, deleting and changing the writings of Ellen White to try to get away from the fact that their prophetess was wrong. That is the shut door policy that took place between 1844 and 1851. I'll probably get to why it was 7 years in my next video. In other words, why did they teach this shut door policy for a period of 7 years and then just drop it? Until then, this has been Golly saying, God bless.